Okay. Uh, okay, so hello everybody. Uh, Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Depends where you are. Now in Israel, it is afternoon, noon exactly. Good afternoon. In Hebrew we say "Tza'arayim tovim." So "Tza'arayim tovim," everybody, uh, and welcome to our session on Rossler AxTraxPro integration with the KONE Elevator Destination Control. For those of you who still don't know me, my name is Giora. I'm a process engineer at Rossler Security Products. Usually in the webinars, I tell everybody that they can call me Gigi. Gigi is my nickname at the neighborhood since childhood, and I like this name very much. So you can call me Gigi. By the way, it is Gigi and not Gigi. So Gigi, and thank you for joining me on this presentation. In this session, we are going to talk about the integration of the KONE Elevator Control server with Rossler AxTraxPro Access Control Management System. Actually, it is an integration done by Rossler using a web API, the API 500 connectivity suite of KONE via HTTPS. This feature allows the control of the user's access rights, the card holder's rights, the access rights to the various elevator floors. This is a kind of elevator control that is also called and referred to as destination control. By the system, we can control and determine who can go to which floor, when, and by which elevator, or by which group of elevators or zone of elevators. For that, we are using groups of floors access rights and timetables, groups of access rights and timetables that are already defined in the KONE server. We retrieve this data to the AxTraxPro server in order to configure in the AxTraxPro the user's elevator access rights. In fact, we synchronize the AxTraxPro server with the KONE server data, and with that retrieve the information of various groups of access rights, time zones, and users categories, which are already defined in the KONE server. With this information, we can build the user's elevator access rights in the AxTraxPro. And after we build in the AxTraxPro the user's elevator access rights and configure his credentials in the AxTraxPro, we send all this to the KONE server to be updated. Basically, the elevator control feature requires a valid license. It is an annual license that must be activated and must have an expiry date for the support and maintenance services. The license is renewed annually, every year, and it can be issued without an end date. Otherwise, KONE Elevator Control would not have support and maintenance services, as this is a KONE requirement. Of course, the customer can also purchase and buy a license package for a few years, for several years, and not only for 1 year. And obviously, not to forget to have the right version of AxTraxPro software. This feature requires AxTraxPro version 28.0.2.8 or higher. But first of all, we have to connect the AxTraxPro server to the KONE server. We have to connect to the KONE server in order to retrieve all the needed information. If we take a look at the GUI of the new version of the AxTraxPro system, we can see that a new section, a new branch was added in the tree view called Elevator Control. You can see it here, Elevator Control. This new Elevator Control branch or tab brings the option to connect to the KONE server and retrieve data and information from the KONE server. By clicking the Edit button in the table view, here, this is the edit button in the table view, a window with the KONE logo will be opened, a window called Elevator Configuration. In the general section, in this window, in the elevator configuration screen, in the general section, we select the required model here. Then we enter a name and a description for the server, and we select the enable checkbox. In the connection details section, we enter the KONE Elevator Control server IP address or URL, and then we enter the user credentials, meaning username and password, to access the KONE Elevator Control server. And by clicking the connect button, we connect to the KONE server and retrieve all the elevator control data from the KONE server. So we will press now the connect button, and this is what we get. And now we can see all the data that was retrieved from the KONE Access server. We can see here 6 tabs of information and data that we got from the KONE server. We can see here a tab of access domains, a tab of access rights, time zones, user categories, home floors, and call types. If we open each tab, we will see groups of domains and groups of access rights, timetables, categories of users, a list of floors that can be selected as the home floor of a user, and types of call. All these groups and categories are already defined in the KONE server, and we will use them later on for our AxTraxPro users. We don't change anything here with that retrieved data. We will use all these groups later on when we build in the AxTraxPro the user's elevator access rights, and we will see how we do it. And for example, we can see here the access domain tab here, which is open now. This tab presents groups of elevators in different zones and different areas and domains in the building, according to which the building can also be divided. In fact, access domain is a KONE predefined group containing a collection of elevators in a single lobby or in a specific zone, area, or domain. The access domain actually determines to which elevators the user is allowed, that user which is assigned to that specific access domain. The names that appear here are Group 1, you can see it here, Group 1, Group 2, mean nothing and are just for example and demonstration and are not real-life names as we connected to the KONE test and demo server. I don't know, maybe it is better to have for demonstration names like Domain 1, Domain 2, or Zone 1, Zone 2, which are much more clear, better than Group 1 or Group 2, which tell nothing and can be a little confusing. Real-life names of access domains can be something like high zone, low zone, middle zone, middle low zone, etc., etc. Okay, so after we understood what access domain is, let's see the next tab, the access rights tab. So we will click it, the access rights tab, yes. And here we see the contents of the access rights tab. This tab presents access rights groups. The access rights groups are like our Rossler access groups in the AxTrax system. Those access groups in Rossler that contain doors that are allowed for the related assigned user. In the same way, we have here in KONE access rights groups that contain floor numbers that are allowed for the related assigned user. And in buildings which host different companies at different floors, these access rights groups may become company dependent, as each company may sit on different floors. So the name of the company may sometimes appear and be part of the access rights group's name. And also here, the names we see in the slide mean nothing and are just for example and demonstration, and are not real-life names. As I told you, we connected to the KONE test and demo server. But a real-life name for an access rights group can be something like Rossler 24 to 26. It means that Rossler is the name of the company, and 24 to 26 are the floor numbers. Okay, now we will move on to the next tab, the time zones tab. So we will press it. So here we see the time zones tab and all its contents. Here we can see timetables like you can see it here, Monday to Friday from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. to be used when building the user's elevator access rights profile. With the timetables, we determine when and at what time intervals. We determine when and at what time intervals the user is allowed access to certain floors which are part of his access rights group. Time zones and timetables are a bunch of periods within a week. Elevator access rights can be set to behave differently for each time zone. And as we said, we use time zones to set the time intervals in which elevator access is allowed according to a specific group of floors access rights. And if we go on to the next tab, to the users categories tab, so we'll proceed here, the users categories, we can see here two user categories to select for the user. We give each user a category. The user category is part of the data and definitions which we get from the KONE server. The user category is defined on the KONE server. It is like we have in the AxTrax, the departments. In the AxTrax system, the users sit under different departments. In the same way, also here in the KONE server, the users sit under different user categories. But not always the KONE server defines and creates user categories. Sometimes it doesn't. What can make, in such a case, this tab to be empty or not available. But if the KONE server does divide users into different categories, then these categories will be displayed here. And we'll have to select each user his category. We will have to select each user his category when we define and create his elevator profile in the AxTraxPro. Okay, and now we'll press the home floors tab. Here, this is the home floors tab. And we can see the contents of the home floors tab. As a matter of fact, indeed, it is just a list of floors in the building. As we said, when we define a user in the system, we can assign him elevator floors access rights using the floors access rights groups defined in the system. But it is not always like this with all the users. We don't have to assign a bunch or an array of access rights and access groups to every user. Some users will be assigned with home floor only. One single floor that is allowed, one single floor considered to be his home floor. And then every time this user passes his card at the elevator reader, the call for the elevator will be to that specific floor only. He will not be allowed to other floors. And so as the home floor of a user can be theoretically any one of the floors in the building, then in this tab, the home floors tab, apparently all the floors in the building may appear. Okay, and the last tab in the elevator configuration screen is the call types tab. So we will press it. And here we can see what the call types tab brings us. We can see here 5 call types that can be assigned to a user when we define a user in the system. When we define a user in the system, the call type we select for him becomes part of his user's properties. Every time the user passes his card at the elevator reader, at the elevator terminal, the behavior of the call for the elevator and its characteristics would be according to the call type definition assigned to this specific user. For every call type, there is a different behavior and different characteristics. And every site, every building can have different call types. All the various call types are KONE definitions and can be found in the KONE manual. We can see in this screen the following call types. First, we can see empty car. Here we see it, empty car. It means that every time this specific user calls for an elevator, the elevator will arrive empty. Then we have handicap. It means that every time this specific user calls for an elevator, when the elevator arrives, the elevator doors will be opened will open for an extended period of time. Then we can see normal, which is no special behavior, just normal operation, normal behavior. And then we have priority. It means that every time this specific user calls for an elevator, he has priority over other users, and an elevator will be directed to him first. And last, we have the space allocation here. The last one, the space allocation. It means that every time this specific user calls for an elevator, a white compartment elevator will be invited. All this information that we just saw in these 6 tabs of the elevator configurations, the elevator configuration screen, access domain, access rights, time zones, home floors, users categories, and call types are all retrieved from the KONE Elevator Control server. It is all defined already in the KONE server. And from our point of view, the AxTraxPro point of view, it is permanent information that we cannot change. Even in the KONE server, it is not changed frequently. Only once a tenant or a company leaves the building. Then there is a real reason for a change. Okay, so after we retrieved all the needed information from the KONE Elevator Control server, we will go now and make all the necessary settings for the user and define his elevator access rights in the AxTraxPro system. We will add to the user elevator access rights via the new Elevators tab in the user's properties screen in the AxTraxPro. So we need now to open the user properties screen. When we want to set elevator access rights to a user, it doesn't matter whether he is an existing user, a new user, or a visitor. We will just go to this specific user in the AxTraxPro through his specific department in the AxTraxPro GUI and press the edit button to open his user's properties screen. Here, this is the edit button for an existing user. If you press it, we will open his user properties screen. Alternatively, we can press the plus button, the add button here, to open and add a new user and present his new user properties screen. In this demonstration, we will press the plus button, the add button, to create a new user and open his user properties screen. So we do that, we'll press the plus button. And we open the user's properties. We open the user properties screen. And now we have to fill in all the fields with the new user's information. But one important thing is not to forget to assign that user a 56 bits Wigan format card, as this is the only format we work with KONE. This is the only format that is supported. That means that we can transfer card information to the KONE server in 56 bits formats only. So we will skip now all the other fields in this screen and focus only on this issue now. We will focus only on this issue now, the 56 bits formats credential card configuration. So we will press the credentials tab here, the credentials tab in the user's property screen. And we can see from this presented drop-down menu that we can add a user a Wigan 56 bits format card. So we will select here, the Wigan 56 line. Now the user is added a new Wigan 56 bits format card. And it is important to understand that in this process, if we add a card to the user or delete a card from the user in the AxTraxPro system, at the end of the process, it will also be updated in the KONE server as well. In the same way, activating or deactivating a card in the AxTraxPro system and making a card active or inactive, it will also be updated in the KONE server as well. What also can be seen in the user properties screen here is that in the new version of the AxTraxPro software, a new tab was added here, a new tab called Elevators. This is the Elevators tab here, this one. In this new tab, we define and configure the user's elevator access right. So we will press the new elevator tabs in the user's properties screen. Here, press it. And here we see the elevator user setting screen. Elevator user setting screen. Here we define the user's elevator access rights in the AxTraxPro. First, we will talk about the upper section, the user data section, and then we'll talk about the access rights section. And the first field in the user data section is the elevator user ID here. And we can see that this field is empty now. At the beginning of the process of defining and setting the user's elevator access rights, in the beginning of this process, this field is empty. It will be filled in automatically by the KONE server at the end of the process. At the end of the process, when we click the last and final OK button, and we will see that towards the end of the presentation, when we click that, when we click the last and final OK button, all the new users configurations and settings done and created in the AxTraxPro will be sent to the KONE server to be updated. At that moment, the KONE server will issue this new user an ID, is elevator user ID. And the next time we open this user in AxTraxPro and click the elevators tab, here the elevators tabs in is users properties screen, we will see the elevator user ID that was issued for him by the KONE server. So we will not touch now this field, and we will move to the next field, to the elevator setting fields here, elevator settings field. The elevator settings are settings that determine the connectivity to the KONE server and the data that will be retrieved from the KONE server. Elevator setting 1, which is written here, is actually the name of the configuration that includes the parameters of the connection to the KONE server, and it defines what information will be retrieved from the KONE server. Different KONE servers in different sites, in different buildings, may have their own specific elevator settings configuration, and we may have the option to choose between several KONE servers that we want to connect to. In order to make things clear and simple and have some order, we can name each elevator settings configuration of which one of the servers after the name of the building where the server sits, where the server host is hosted. And then we will have to select here in this field, the elevator setting field, between these different elevator settings configurations of the various servers in the various buildings. Here in this demonstration, we have the option to connect to one server only, and it has the default name elevator setting 1. So we have the default name elevator setting 1 for its elevator setting configuration for this server elevator setting configuration. So we choose here elevator setting 1. This is what we choose. Then we have the user category, the user category field. If we press the drop-down menu of the user categories here. Press it. Yes. We will see that we have two categories here. We have to select for each user is category. And I remind you that the user category is defined on the KONE server. It is a definition coming from KONE. And we have already talked about it, and I will repeat quickly and to remind you that we say that it is like we have in the AxTrax, the departments. In the AxTrax system, the users sit under different departments. In the same way, also here in the KONE server, the users sit under different user categories. We said that not always the KONE server defines and creates user categories, what can make this field in the screen here empty and nothing to select. But if the KONE server does divide users to different categories, then one category here must be selected for the user. And regarding the question, what category to select here for the specific user, then we have to understand that the administrator that sets up the user elevator settings here is supposed to be familiar also with what was defined in the KONE server and is supposed to know under which category this user is defined in the KONE server. And according to this, he will choose the right user category, the right category for the user here. And for this demonstration, we will select here people flow. So we will press people flow. And the next field is home flow here. If we press the drop down menu here, we will see a list of floors. The drop down menu of on floor. Go to here. Okay. Okay. We actually see here a list of floors. If we set here a floor number, it would mean that every time that this user swipes his card at the elevator reader, the elevator is invited for him for this specific floor only and is not allowed to other floors. So we can understand from here that it is not a must to give every user a group of access rights. Some users may have only a home floor and that's it. But if the user is not assigned to a home floor, then we would have to assign him access rights groups. Assign him access rights groups to set his floor access rights, as we will see later on in the access rights section below here. In this access section rights here, we will select for the user is access rights groups. For now, we will press none. So the user will not have a home floor. So we will press none, and the user doesn't have a home floor. And then there is the call type tab here. If we press the drop-down menu of the call type field, we will see the available call types that we retrieved from the KONE system, and we have to select one of them. So press the OK. And we can see here 5 call types that can be assigned when we define a user. The call type we choose here will become part of the user's properties. Every time the user swipes his card at the elevator reader, the behavior of the call for the elevator would be according to the call type definition assigned to this specific user. For every call type, there is a different behavior. And as we said, every site and every building can have different call types. We said that all the various call types are KONE definitions and can be found in the KONE manual. Here we see on this screen 5 different call types. We already talked about it, but I will repeat it quickly to remind you. Normal normal means no special behavior, just normal operation. Then we see handicap, Every time this specific user calls for an elevator, when the elevator arrives, the elevator doors will be open for an extended period of time. Then we see priority. It means that this user has a priority over other users, and an elevator will be directed to him first. And then we see empty car. Every time this specific user calls for an elevator, the elevator will arrive empty. And last, we have space allocation. It means that every time the specific users call for an elevator, a white compartment elevator will be invited. So now here for this demonstration, we will select the most common one, the normal type. Here we'll press the normal. And we will go now to the next section, the access rights section. So after we filled the user data section, we will deal with the access rights section. But before that, I just want to remind you that, as we said, not always we have to assign the user access rights groups. We saw that if we select for the user a home floor to allow him only to that specific floor, then that is his access right. But if the user doesn't have a home floor, we have to assign him floor access rights. We have to assign him access domains here, the access domains, and access rights in the access rights section. And in order to add to the user access domains and access rights, we will press the plus button, the add button in the access rights section. So press the plus button. And when we do that, the add access rights screen will open the add access rights menu. Here we select for the user access domains and access rights groups. And please notice that you should know that the user can have more than one access domain and more than one access rights group. We will see in a minute that this setting operation here creates a view table with the user's access domains and the user's access rights groups for us to view. And this table can be filled with more than one line. In each line of the table, there will be a selected access domain, and next to it, a selected access rights group. For every single access domain, we will see several different groups of access rights that belong to that specific access domain, and we have to choose one of them. It means that for every access domain we select, we have several access rights groups that we have to choose from. So now we will select an access domain for the user. We will press on the drop-down menu of the access domain here. And we see here the various options. We can see here 3 access domains that we can select for the user. Group 1, Group 2, and People Flow. As we already said, the access domains represent groups of elevators in different zones and different areas and domains in the building, and according to that, the building can also be divided. Access domains, access domain is a KONE predefined group containing a collection of elevators in a single lobby or in a specific zone, area, or domain. The access domain actually determines to which elevators the user is allowed. And as we said, every access domain has its list of access rights groups that are related to him. And from that list, we will choose the group of access rights for the user assigned to that specific domain. Again, the names, as we said, the names that appear here, group 1, group 2, mean nothing and are just for example and demonstration and are not real-life names. As we said, real-life names of access domains can be something like high zone, low zone, middle zone, middle low zone, etc., etc. So we can see here 3 access domains that we can select. Here it is group 1, group 2, and People Flow. We will see that People Flow is a mandatory dedicated domain. Every user must have People Flow in his access domains list. Otherwise, you wouldn't have any permissions or access rights. So later on, we will add the people flow domain to the user as well. So first, let's select one of the access domains here. We will choose here group 1, and later we will also add and select the people flow mandatory domain. So we'll press group 1. So after we selected group 1 as an access domain, we will select for the user an access right group for that specific domain group 1. And as we said, when we select one of the access domain in the menu, the related access rights groups that belong to that specific access domain will appear now in the drop-down menu of the access rights field. And we can select one of these access rights. So we'll press the drop-down menu of the access rights field. Here, we'll press it. And we will see all the relevant access rights groups that belong to the access domain called group 1. So this is the list of groups of access rights, groups of access rights that belong to group 1 domain. These groups of access rights, I say it again, I remind you, these groups of access rights remind us our Rossler access groups. They contain numbers of floors exactly like as our Rossler access groups contain readers and doors. A user that will be assigned with such a group will be allowed to go to these specific floors that are in this group. And when he swipes his card at the elevator smart reader, the elevator smart destination terminal, the allowed floors in this group will appear on the terminal touch screen, and the user will have to select one of them from the screen. So while the access domain, this is the access domain, determines to which elevators the user is allowed, the access rights group determines to which floors in that elevators he is allowed. And again, the names that appear here, sandbox group 1 and so on, mean nothing and are just for example and demonstration and are not real life names. As we said, real life name of access right group may include floor numbers and names of companies lodging on these floors. And we gave the example that access rights group name can be something like Rossler 22 to 24. Rossler is the name of the company, and 22 to 24 are the floor numbers. Okay, so now we will choose one of the access rights groups of the domain group 1. We will select, for example, sandbox group 1 121. Okay. So now we have the first access domain for the user and the first access right group for this user. We will press the OK button, here, the OK button. And we can see here that the first line was added to the table, to the view table. Here, this is the first line of the table with the new access domain called group 1 and the new access rights group called sandbox 121. And as we said, we can fill that if you can fill in the table with more than one line. The user can have more than one access domain and more than one group of access rights. So we will add now to the user another access domain and another access rights group, and surely it will be the mandatory access domain people flow. So in order to add another access domain and another access rights group to the user, we will press again the plus button, the add button here. Press it, yes, and here we see again the add access right screen, the add access right menu. We will click on the access domain drop down. Drop down, and we will choose now people flow. People flow. Okay. We can see that the access rights group, is already assigned the access rights group already assigned with the master profile group, and it is okay for us. So we will just press OK to add it to the table view. And now we can see that a new line was added to the table view with the access domain people flow and the access right master profile. And another thing that we have to pay attention to is the validity. Valid from and valid to. When the end date of the validity arrives and it expires, the user will lose all these access rights. And in order to finish this process, we will have to save all these settings by pressing OK at the bottom of the screen here. This OK button. And by that, by pressing the OK button, all the configurations that we just defined here will be sent to the KONE server. At the same time, an appropriate message will appear in the events log at the bottom of the AxTraxPro screen, and will tell us whether the saving operation succeeded or not. As we said before, at that moment, also the KONE server will issue this new user his elevator user ID. Remember, we talked it at the beginning of the session of elevator user setting. So at that moment, the KONE server will issue this new user his elevator user ID. And the next time we open this user in the AxTraxPro and click the elevators tab in his users properties screen, we will see the elevator user ID. We will see the elevator user ID that was issued for him by the KONE server. You can also see here the validate button in this screen, the validate button here, which is now faded and not active. It will be active only after this process is finished. This button allows us to verify that the data and all the users' definitions we just made in this process were updated and saved correctly on the KONE server. Once we press this button, when it is active, we will get the same GUI we have here now, plus another section of credential cards we defined for the user in the AxTraxPro. But this time, all the data in the various sections will be filled by information we retrieved from the KONE server. So we can verify that everything we configured was updated and saved correctly. And of course, as we said, the elevator user ID will be filled in. Okay, that's it. Thank you for being with me. If there's any question or something you want to ask about what we've covered so far, you are welcome to ask me now. So are there any questions?
So nothing from my side.
Okay, great. Okay.
When we go to the local KONE team and when the requirement come up with for the DCS control and we ask KONE team which API you are using on the site.
No, the line is not so well. Can you repeat, please?
Yeah, okay. So when the requirement comes of DCS integration,
yes,
and if it is a KONE OEM, we ask KONE team which API you are using on site. Is it 500 or is it 1000?
No, it is the 500. It is the 500.
Yeah. I know, but when we ask them, so they are completely blank. They are not aware that which API will be getting used on the site.
Okay.
And then they go to their team, and it takes so much time that which API will be using on the site. So how we can make this? What should be our question that other than API, how integration is possible? easily?
For now, this integration is done with the API 500. As you saw in Chaim presentation about our roadmap, we are working on the API 1000, and I think it's the next phase. We will have the API 5000, and all will be managed. A lot of the things that are now managed on the KONE server will be on the AxTraxPro server. So still, we don't have it in. We'll have to wait a couple of months to have the this final integration with the API 1000.
No, but the question here is like how many APIs are there with KONE? And when we are approaching a site, how to get the details of which
Out to what?
API
Out to what? And
how
we'll
to get the details of the API installed at that particular site?
I,
Suppose like there is a site where an elevator, KONE elevator is installed.
yes.
So how we can get the details, like which API is
The
there?
details. You say the details? How you get the details of
Yeah.
uh, the API? Yeah, and when this integration is done, you have to contact the administrator of the KONE server in the place, and he will give you all the details. Usually, when we sell this feature, then we contact also the technical guy that is in charge of the KONE server, and sometimes he's doing the configuration in the AxTraxPro, or sometimes he gives the information that we need when our system integrator do the configuration. So you connect to the administrator of the KONE server. Understood?
Okay.
Okay.
Do you have some images or video of the current site,
Some videos of the current site.
where we have done this?
Maybe I will have to check that with our technical support. And we did implemented this integration here in Israel in the building with KONE. I think there are few implementations of these solutions. I will check with our technical guys.
This is must to promote it in India. When we talk to distributor or someone about this solution, they ask us to show us demo.
A demo, demo of what?
How it works.
A demo of, because how to configure the different menus and screen you saw here. But you mean demo of what?
Demo is like the process flow, like how the process exactly flowing when we are talking about integration with ROS layer. So when the ROS layer system in place with KONE elevator, how the process will be. So customer want to understand what will be the process flow for using this solution.
Uh, okay, I will see if we can issue something like that. Yeah, I wrote it to me. Okay. In any case, send me also an email regarding that, so it will be in my stack, and I will take care of it. Send me an email,
So
okay?
one last query from my side. Is it compulsory to use
Is it what? Compulsory?
KONE readers?
Is it what? I didn't understand.
Is it compulsory to use KONE RFID reader? We can't
You,
use Rosler reader?
we need to use the KONE reader, because the KONE reader is the reader that interact with the KONE Elevator Control. We configure and define users' properties and access rights, elevator access rights, and we send it to the KONE server. You're doing it from the AxTraxPro screens, but it is sent to the KONE server, and all is done in the KONE server.
So
You
when you
use
talk, when you tell that KONE reader talks with KONE elevator system, then what's
KONE
the
reader,
our role?
KONE reader speaks with what?
KONE reader will speak with Rosler controller, right?
In a building, you have access control of Rosler. All the doors, the readers in the building are Rosler readers. But regarding the elevator, the readers are KONE readers, not Rosler. We have also solution for elevators with Rosler's readers. Then, in such a case, all the solution is Rosler solution. You are using, for example, AC825. Usually we edit also the R825 for
No.
additional outputs. And
That
then,
that that we are implementing daily. No, we are not talking about that. I am talking about if there is KONE RFID reader, okay,
yes,
it will interact with Rosler controller or it will interact with KONE DCS system.
KONE system.
It won't connect to Rosler controller.
It's not working on the Rosler's controller. These elevator readers are specifically for the elevators, and it is a smart uh, it is a smart terminals with touch screen, because if there is a few floors that a user is allowed, you will see it on the touch screen, and you will have to choose one of the floors. It is special readers for the elevator. It is KONE readers, and it interact with the KONE elevator control, not with Rosler. We in the AxTraxPro, these solutions is for cases where situations where in the building there is access control of Rosler system, and there is also KONE elevators. So all the doors and gates are controlled by Rosler panels, Rosler access control panels, um, and you manage all the doors via the AxTraxPro software, and uh, you can also manage and configure the user's elevator's access rights from the AxTraxPro, and you send all this configuration to the KONE server. You give all the features and properties of the user in the AxTraxPro, and you send it to the KONE server, and the KONE server acts accordingly when it gets when somebody passes the card at the KONE elevator reader, and it acts according to what we defined in the AxTraxPro. It gives us one point of contact. It gives us one GUI to manage the different users for the access control in the building through the different gates and doors, and also to configure their access elevator access rights through one single point, via the AxTraxPro screens.
So no 8 to 5 in this between, right?
No, you don't. You need the AC825 to manage and control the other readers, the other doors of the building, but not related and not with any connection to the KONE elevators control.
So that
So
means that reader are smart reader,
yes, exactly.
TCP/IP based.
Yes, it is smart readers with touch screen. This is KONE readers. I just connect and send all the information. It's like in the LDAP, the Active Directory, that a new employee is recruited to the company, and S is a onboarding process. We are also in the LDAP, in the Active Directory. We can define this user and also give him his access control, um, access control groups and rights, access control rights in the system. We just interact and give information to the KONE server. The one that controls the readers and the elevators are the KONE is the KONE server.
Okay, okay from my
Okay.
side.
Okay, great. Okay, guys. So thank you for being with me. It was nice. If you have any question or needed information later, you have my email and my telephone number. You can also call me. You can also do WhatsApp calls. I talk a lot with my customers through via WhatsApp calls. And I will send you the recording so you can go over it again. Please go over it again. Then you will understand it much better, and it will help you configure what you need when time comes. Okay, guys. So have a great day, and
Yeah.
see you in
Thank you.
our
Thank you.
next sessions. See you.
Thank you.
Bye, bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to you, Ivan. See you. Bye, bye. Bye, bye.
Bye.
Bye.